guys? How's it going? So, of course, I've been doing as much of the free loot stuff that I can. I ended up getting the emote, which is pretty cool. Got the clink emote. So I got that. I can go ahead and show you real quick. It's kind of a cool emote, in a way. At least I think it is, anyway. Go into my emotes here. I have not used my emote yet. We're going to equip it, and then we're just going to basically just like this. Ta-da! You got the little clink. It's kind of neat. Anyway, so there's that. Of course, I had somebody that asked me about this on the comment section, and they were wanting like an arena guide. And so today's video, we're just gonna kind of go over like how to set up your armies and such in an arena. So I'm gonna start from the beginning, and I'm gonna assume that you're like a free-to-play player, right? So most of your free-to-play players are gonna have access to infantry. They're gonna have a lancer. They're gonna have a marksman. Okay, I would say you're more than likely gonna get Jesse at some point in time. You're more than likely gonna have Sergey. So I would say, like, if anything, right, you want to focus primarily on getting best possible heroes in your lineup. So somebody like Sergey is going to be a serious plus. I think having somebody like Sergey and then pick one of your blue heroes like Smith or any of these two infantryers are going to be a huge boon to you. And the reason why is because, as you can tell, most people will send infantry in the front. So you could easily do this, right? Then for your backline, you want to use body. And then you would probably want to either use this. And if you could help it, I would actually go like, say, like Jesse here probably. They might be wondering, okay, if you do a lineup like this, how's that going to work out for me in the long term? And it does up until like a certain point. In Gen 1, you're not going to be too heavily stressed out with heroes and such, and so you don't really have to do a whole lot. But the idea and principle is so let's say if I run into an infantry march and I have lancers. The problem is lancers hitting infantry counter lancer, and therefore lancer die faster. So you don't want that. A lot of people that make this mistake right from the get-go don't fully understand the fact that if you were to put, let's say, lancers in front and infantry hit lancer, right? You're actually going to get your troops killed faster, and therefore you're actually doing yourself a disservice. The other problem is you have to consider also is what is the expedition skill. There's only a couple of heroes in the game that have AoE abilities. One of them happens to be Molly, but you might have also noticed that there's stuns, with these heroes, and that's part of the reason why people use them. So you might notice people will use somebody like Alonzo, Molly, but you also have heroes like, Geronimo, for example. That you have to kind of consider their skills and abilities. So before you even go into arena, you have to really consider, okay, looking at the skills and looking at the exploration skill. This is the biggest key here. Because here you can see everything from attack speed up, heal up, damage up, and enemy damage taken. There's so many different things that get applied here that you need to pay very close attention to. But typically, most of the arena lineup heroes are all going to be focused heavily on the highest generation possible of hero and star level of hero. But then you also have to take into consideration, do you have your hero gear, and do you have the actual mastery forgery level of that gear up leveled and enhanced properly to where you can really make the most of it? Because these are all going to get added into it. It's all factored in with your arena score. This is why typically whenever you look at like the fighting power of somebody and you look at like that might to kill ratio is a pretty good indication of whether or not you're going to live or die. Obviously, you want to make sure you're occasionally hitting quick deploy, and defense lineup will usually line this up properly for you. You don't really have to do it's almost mindless. You don't have to worry about that really as much. So, like, for example, I'll just go ahead and do a quick deploy. and will pop into arena without really a whole lot of trouble. Obviously, with the main strategy to arena in general is knowing that each of these challenges is limited, and you only have up to 5 you can buy with gems. It starts at 100, then it goes from 100 to 200. So you've already spent 300 gems, mind you. 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 700 gems, 7 plus 6. Now you're a little over 1300. Now you add another 8, and now you're almost at 2100 gems spent just in getting your daily challenges. Now, the other problem is a lot of people will burn these all up all in a given day. A problem is that a lot of people will wait until the very last 10 minutes, which is usually at reset. And that's like the end of the day when your packs refresh. You want to usually spend or expend most of these challenges of around about half an hour before the event resets. Because otherwise, it's really easy for people to just basically wipe you down in their rankings. And that's not usually all that helpful. Now you can see again, this is very mindless, but you can see how this is backfired. That person had lancers in their front line and it got completely smithereened. Like it was so easy to walk through. Okay. And again, most of this lineup stuff, you can see it's going to happen over and over and over again. Whenever you throw lancers in the front, you're assuming the people that you're running into are running probably marksmen and infantry. But it's not that common. There's a lot more players sending double infantry than there are people sending lancer and infantry in the front line. Like people that are doing that are probably not really accounting for every situation as well as they could be. Like frankly, having a pair of infantry on the front line is probably a better viable strategy, in my opinion. So it's more common to see something like this, where you'll see 2 infantry, 2 lancer, and 1 marksman, or 2 marksmen, 1 lancer, or some variation of that. In my case, I happen to be throwing 2 lancer, 1 marksman. The one thing you'll notice is that, like in his case, it's an AoE, so he has not 1 but 2 AoEs back there, and then he's got a heal up. Now, I happen to have a higher Gen 3 hero in the back with a pair of, so a Gen 1 and a Gen 2. I mean, in a way, it seems like an even matchup, but the problem being is he's got Sergey here, and you're going to see how that plays out. It just doesn't compare. There's more damage and more DPS and more stats, and the higher generation heroes available to you. Obviously, you're going to have an advantage for that reason, but you're also going to have an advantage whenever you're going up an opponent that doesn't have proper hero gear on their heroes as well. And this is one thing that, I suck at in a way because I actually only have 3 heroes that have a set of gear on. This is why whenever I'm actually going into a lot of these battles, that my ranks are actually a lot lower than they could be. I mean, this is part of the reason why when I look at my hero lineup, I know I could be doing better because all I'd have to do is actually start putting gear on the other 2 heroes or 3 heroes that I have in here. In a march up of 5, I've only got 2 of which that are actually gearless, and they're just running core stats. And that's part of the problem. It's like, so you have to be kind of conscious of what gear you have on these heroes at any given time, because that is going to play into your defense lineup, at least in arena. And so as you can tell, the skills are obviously a factor. There's a lot of things there you can do to kind of tweak to get down in the rankings. But like in this case, with almost little to no effort, I hit rank 1. Now, will that last? No. And the first opportunity that somebody of higher ranking power comes by, they will easily mollywop the living hell out of me. And that's arena. And is it beneficial to like run through and get to the bottom rank like that at the beginning? No. It won't last. I guarantee you in 10 hours time, I will find myself at the bottom of this ranking very, very easily. And so how do you actually go about, knowing what to do, and how do you do well in arena? And as I said, I think really ultimately it really comes down to this: paying very close attention to the fact that the generation that is newest is obviously going to have better core stats when they're maxed out. Knowing what skills they have on the option on exploration is going to be a huge boon to you in terms of how well they're going to play. And about the only other thing you can adjust is everything from their exclusive gear, having that maxed out, and then also having decent gear on the heroes themselves. outside of that, that's really about all you need to know as far as Arena is concerned. But hopefully this was helpful for you, and I'll see you guys next time.